No doubt. Let's talk Newcastle. The Athletic reporting on a story from this summer about Odysseus Vlachodimos, the goalkeeper signed from Nottingham Forest, who signed a 5-year contract after making a very shocking £20 million move. Was this a big expense just to avoid a PSR breach?
Yeah, I think Newcastle are one of the prime candidates for, shall we say, being creative with the accounting around some of the PSR deals. They're not the only one. I think Villa, Everton, there's quite a few clubs, Forest, that got involved in some creative accounting, and I think that's one that is no doubt it will lay within the rules. But I would expect that there may well be some potential rule changes coming up next summer at the end of this season if the clubs decide that's what they want to do at the summer meeting. But I would think that could be on the cards. But yes, it was. I think definitely it smells of PSR all the way.
And if it's clear that Newcastle and Nottingham Forest did this as a way of finding a PSR loophole, and let's just be clear, it's pretty clear that that's the case considering that Newcastle now have 5 senior goalkeepers. How come Premier League officials wouldn't come out and say this is wrong, this isn't the point of PSR, and try immediately put a stop to it?
Because the rule book is the rule book, and if you're within the rules, then you can go ahead and do it. And it isn't for the Premier League to take decisions like that outside of the rule book. It's up to the 20 clubs to make to vote and to change the rules if they're needed. So it's a case of, I'm afraid the Premier League can only impose the rules; they can't make them up, and so they can't also interpret them to suit what they think is the reason for those particular issues. So it's a case of, there are 20 shareholders in the Premier League, and those are the clubs, and they're the ones that can change the rules. So Premier League can, as I say, can only impose them.
No doubt about that. Manchester United are offering to sell securities of a mixed variety to raise around $400 million, potentially linked to the new stadium project, or what's this about?
It's hard to know. I think it could be a mixture of things. When I looked into it, it's going to be certainly partly towards all the planning and all the. There's a lot of costs involved in trying to get this sort of project planned, but it'll also be towards some of the debt that's been created, and there could be some sort of other work to be done, but. It's going to be a mixture of things. It's not a significant sum really for them in terms of the overall scheme of things, and certainly the share price has gone up on the back of this. So we'll see what it goes to. But I don't think there's any one major project such as the new stadium that they're going to be needing this money for. It's a little bit too early to put that sort of thing in place. But there may be some costs. Now, what they've got to be careful about, and there's two things that have cropped up this week. It was announced yesterday, and I've been saying this for a few weeks, that it's going to be very hard for them to get any government money towards this new stadium. And that was proven to be the case yesterday, that they've said there will be no government money coming into the project apart from the infrastructure around any new stadium, which is fine. But it's also where they've got to be careful about, and where I think a lot of people have got to be watching them for where they invest, is, and it's around PSR as well, it's linked to this. If they take some of this money and say they build a new computer system and they do something with that, and they claim it's all around the new stadium project and they have to get this new system in there, if suddenly that system starts doing work on scouting and database working, etc., for players, then that's where they're going to be crossing the line. So I think we've got to be watching where this money goes carefully, and certainly let's make sure that Man United play by the rules. And I know there'll be enough people watching that to be sure it happens.
No doubt. And you mentioned it's too soon for this to be about the stadium. We've spoken a lot about Manchester United's potential new stadium project. When could we actually see this start and potentially complete to see Manchester United actually make a move?
Well, I think it's the scale of it. I think we're going to be looking at about a 3-year build time to get that done, and that could be tight. But I think you're going to need another year, 18 months in terms of planning and getting all the permissions, etc., done. I think you're looking at 5 to 6 years overall to get that done. So we're looking getting in there sort of somewhere around about 28, 29, 30. It's going to be that sort of period of time to handle a project like this. And there are always issues along the way in major projects like this. So we'll have to wait and see how it goes. I know that they're still thinking about keeping Old Trafford in some sort of format there in terms of whether it's going to be where the ladies play or whether it's going to be the youth matches. Um, Sometimes keeping your history can be a good thing. Other times it can get in the way of the future. And so they've got to think this through properly and see how it goes. But Anyway, they've got a couple of good results, and everybody seems to be off their backs at the moment. But I'm still not convinced that Radcliffe's got this right, as I've said before. So another one to watch, along with West Ham at the moment.